Alright guys, this is chapter 9 lecture review about skeletal muscles. Just quickly going to go over this worksheet so you can have it to study for before Wednesday, tomorrow. Okay, so grab this worksheet if you've got it, and I'll quickly go over it. As far as the skeletal muscle structure, we have this whole thing as the skeletal muscle. Okay, it is covered by epimysium. That is what is covering the skeletal muscle. Then within the skeletal muscle, we have these. If we draw, it's made up a bunch of these. So if we draw one out, just for picture purposes, if we kind of just grab one of those and pull it out, we're going to see this muscle fiber. Or I'm sorry, it's a muscle fascicle. Okay, muscle fascicle. So within the skeletal muscle, if we pull one of these things out, it's going to be a muscle fascicle. It is covered by perimysium. So each muscle fascicle is covered by the perimysium. So same kind of thing, there's going to be a bunch of these circles in here. If we pull one out, okay, this is going to be the muscle fiber. Okay, it is covered by the endomyosin. Okay, if we go even further, a bunch of myofibrils make up a muscle fiber. So within this muscle fiber, there's a bunch of myofibrils. Okay, so that kind of shows the progress, the makeup of one skeletal muscle structure. You're going to find a bunch of muscle fascicles within the skeletal muscle. You're going to find a bunch of muscle fibers within a fascicle, and you're going to find myofibrils within that muscle fiber. So I'm going to jump over to the second page, grab that, because that's exactly what this whole page kind of breaks down. You have your skeletal muscle. It is surrounded by the epimysium. It contains within here a bunch of the muscle fascicles. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So skeletal muscles contain the fascicles. A muscle fascicle is surrounded by the perimysium, and it contains a bunch of muscle fibers. The muscle fibers are surrounded by the endomyosin. Okay, and these muscle fibers contain myofibrils. Each myofibril is surrounded by the SR, this sacroplasmic reticulum. Or just SR for short. Okay. Each myofibril contains sarcomeres. And remember, that's just the repeating unit of the, I think it's a Z-line, from Z-line to Z-line, but it's just a repeating unit, sarcomeres. And then each sarcomere, as you can see here, that's what contains the actin and the myosin filaments, the thick and thin filaments, as you can see here. The actin and myosin from Z line to the Z line. Okay, so that kind of gives you, zoom out here, that kind of gives you just the breakdown, the functional organization of a skeletal muscle from the whole thing down to the smallest thing. All right, so back to this page. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea about the levels. So connective tissue covering the epimysium, as we saw here, surrounds the whole muscle. So the epimysium is the outermost layer of connective tissue. The perimysium surrounds the fascicles. And then the endomysium surrounds muscle fibers. Okay, so hopefully that kind of explains that. So breaking down the muscle fibers, the myofibrils are simply the thread-like bunches of filaments. Those filaments, also known as actin and myosin. The actin is the thin, and the myosin is the thick. So we can see down here, myosin, that contains the myosin head, is the thick filaments. The actin is the thin filaments, and that's where it has the tropomyosin and the troponin on it to release the binding sites. And I will attach a YouTube video link on this email that I'm going to send you to kind of explain this process of how the binding sites are how the binding sites appear on the actin so that the myosin head can attach to the actin. It explains it a lot better than I can. So make sure to watch that video. The fascicles here are just simply bundles of muscle fibers. Okay. So the actin here is the thick. You can see it's definitely a lot thicker than the actin here, which is the thinner. And then remember the I band and the H band are the two that kind of go away as the muscle. I mean, like, the actin here is going to go this way. The myosin is going to go that way. So it's kind of going to go inward here. And then the I bands here and the H band are going to disappear practically when the muscle contracts. So I will post that link to the video. Definitely watch it. It explains the cross bridge cycle and how this changes and how the myosin head attaches to the actin site. So definitely watch that. Let me know if you have any questions.